Welcome to the Mystery and History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Richard Lasher on his way to go motorcycling when Mount St. Helens erupted in front of him in 1980. He appears stopped with his motorcycle, watching from a distance as the ash cloud rises into the sky. The contrast between the calm moment and the sudden natural event creates an impressive scene. Japanese-American citizens at an internment center located in the northwestern region of the United States in the early 1940s. They appear gathered in a simple space with wooden buildings and mountains in the background. An improvised village known as a Hooverville, built in the middle of Central Park in New York during the Great Depression in 1933. The small shacks were erected with wood, cardboard, and other reused materials by people who had lost their homes and jobs. A woman sawing part of a cart during a historic flood in Gävle, Sweden on August 18, 1945. She appears determined, working amid water that covers much of the street. The act symbolizes the population's effort to protect or recover goods affected by the flood. In 1945, aerial artist Betty Fox delivered an impressive performance on the rooftop of the Fort Shelby Hotel in Michigan, defying gravity and danger during the golden age of live entertainment. A woman riding an alligator at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum during the 1930s. The record was made at a public event that brought together curious performances and cultural demonstrations. The scene reflects the entertainment spirit of the time, when the Coliseum was a stage for major attractions. In 1959, children who lived around Modena in Italy needed to cross a river using pulleys to get to school every day. The crossing required balance and courage, showing the difficulties faced by rural communities in times of limited infrastructure. Taken in Ireland in 1888 and showing an action by British authorities during a period of land disputes. The image reflects the social and economic tensions experienced by landowners and tenants at the time. A barrage balloon suspended over London in 1915 used as air defense. These large balloons were positioned to prevent aircraft from flying low during attacks, protecting the city and its buildings. Anchored by steel cables, they formed a visible aerial barrier against possible invaders. The Italian actress Sophia Loren in 1954. She appears young and elegant at the beginning of a career that would soon become internationally recognized. Her striking presence and confident gaze reflect the charm of European cinema of the time. Zen monks at Asakusa Temple in Tokyo performing a safety exercise with gas masks in 1936. They appear lined up in the temple courtyard, wearing their traditional garments combined with protective equipment. A resident of Papua New Guinea helping a wounded Australian soldier to return home on Christmas Day of 1942. The scene was recorded during an important support operation between local communities and foreign forces. The 5 children of the Romanov family with shaved heads after contracting measles in January 1917. The haircut was done as part of the medical care recommended at the time. The children appear together, wearing simple clothing and showing serenity in the face of the situation. New York City Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia throwing confiscated gambling machines and weapons into the waters of Long Island Sound in 1937. The action was part of a campaign to strengthen the law and fight illegal practices in the city. The dining room of the Hindenburg airship, recorded in the 1920s. The environment was elegant and spacious, designed to offer comfort and sophistication to passengers during flights. A man walking along a carefully swept street in a German city in the year 1945. The place shows signs of reconstruction after a period of great change. The scene conveys a feeling of restart and order amid the changes of that time. Log-laden trucks were photographed in North Bend, Washington, one of the most active regions in the United States timber industry during the Second World War. A beautician painting stockings directly onto a client's skin during the period of clothing rationing in London, England in 1941. The technique imitated the look of nylon stockings, which were scarce because of the restrictions of the time. The painting Mona Lisa being removed from its packaging after the end of the Second World War in 1945. The work had been carefully protected during the period of conflict to ensure its preservation. The uncrating marked the return of the painting to the Louvre Museum in Paris. Pinball machines being collected for destruction during the period of game prohibition in the United States between the 1940s and the 1970s. At the time, several American cities banned these machines for considering them inappropriate. Authorities carried out operations to remove the equipment from public establishments. The largest aircraft ever built, the AN-225 Mriya, together with the Buran spacecraft, at the Kubinka airfield in the Soviet Union in June 1989. The AN-225 was designed to carry large cargo, including the Buran space vehicle, on its back. On March 16, 1960, Republic Aviation Corporation presented a prototype spacesuit designed for future lunar missions. The model was created during the space race between the United States and the Soviet Union in a period of intense technological innovation. Scientists analyzing models in a laboratory during preparations for the United States crewed flight to the moon in 1962. They studied different phases and structures necessary for the success of the space mission. Neil Armstrong preparing a pizza in Houston, Texas in 1969. The astronaut appears relaxed, smiling while spreading the dough on a kitchen table. The scene was recorded in the same year that he would make history by taking part in the Apollo 11 mission. In 1961, engineers at the Hughes Aircraft Electronics Laboratories presented the Mobot mobile robot, a prototype mobile robot capable of assisting with human tasks, such as dressing a person. 4.5 megabytes of data stored on 62,500 punched cards in 1955. The cards are stacked in large blocks, representing how information was recorded and processed in early computers. A steel worker apparently touching the tip of the Chrysler Building while working on the construction of the Empire State Building in New York in 1931. The image was made artistically, using angle and distance to create the illusion of contact between the two city landmarks. Henry Ford next to the first Ford car, built in 1896, and the 10 millionth Ford Model T, produced in 1924. The image symbolizes almost 30 years of innovation and growth in the automobile industry. Between 1897 and 1930, the city of Seattle in the United States underwent one of the largest urban regrading projects in its history, with the goal of leveling hills and changing the central terrain. 30 men standing on the roof of an Auto Union DKW F7 automobile in 1937 in Germany. The image was made to demonstrate the strength of the vehicle's wooden body, an innovative feature for the time. The elegant restaurant Windows on the World, located at the top of the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York. Opened that same year, the venue offered an impressive panoramic view of the city and quickly became one of the most sophisticated destinations for dinners and events. President John F. Kennedy leaning over his desk, reviewing documents in the Oval Office on February 11, 1961. The image became known as the loneliest job for symbolizing the weight of presidential decisions. John F. Kennedy reviewing his speech during the 1960 presidential campaign. He appears focused, holding the pages carefully as he prepares to address the public. The setting reflects the intensity and professionalism of political campaigns of the time. Kennedy, still young, conveys confidence and determination in his posture. The actress Carrie Fisher posing with several stormtroopers while promoting the film The Empire Strikes Back in London in 1980. She appears smiling, interacting in a playful way with the costumed characters. Peter Cushing, George Lucas, Carrie Fisher, and David Prowse behind the scenes of the filming of Star Wars in 1977. The group appears relaxed, smiling between takes. Carrie Fisher, who portrayed Princess Leia, talks with director George Lucas, while Peter Cushing and David Prowse, dressed as Darth Vader, observe the scene. Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 1970s, during the peak of his career as a bodybuilder. He appears showing his athletic build and the impressive muscle definition that made him a sports icon. In that period, Arnold won important titles such as Mr. Olympia, consolidating his international fame. Arnold Schwarzenegger receiving ballet and posing lessons with dancer Marianne Claire in 1976. The athlete, then a bodybuilding champion, sought to improve balance, posture, and elegance in his presentations. In 1984, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Grace Jones were photographed behind the scenes of the film Conan the Destroyer, one of the most notable fantasy productions of the 1980s. The film was shot on locations in Mexico and combined action, mythology, and epic adventure. In the 1980s, music icons Freddie Mercury and Michael Jackson were photographed together in a rare meeting that symbolizes the union of two of the greatest talents in the history of pop and rock. The artists even worked on musical collaborations. Queen Elizabeth II was photographed riding a richly adorned elephant during an official visit to the city of Benares, now Varanasi, in India. The scene was part of a traditional ceremony organized in honor of the British monarch, symbolizing respect and friendship between nations. Marilyn Monroe performing on stage before thousands of service members in Korea in 1954. The actress traveled to the country to entertain the troops, taking part in a series of shows organized to lift the soldiers' spirits. Marilyn Monroe taking part in a promotional campaign for the charity Milk Fund for Babies in 1957. She appears smiling, holding a bottle of milk while posing for photographers. The singer and actress Cher during the Academy Awards ceremony in 1973. She appears dazzling, wearing a bold and elegant outfit that reflected her striking and innovative style. Agnetha Fältskog in 1976, during the height of her career as a member of the Swedish group ABBA. She appears smiling, with the characteristic look of the time, marked by blonde hair and sparkling outfits. The style reflects the energy and glamour of 1970s pop. The actress Linda Carter portrayed as Wonder Woman in the 4th episode of the 2nd season of the series Wonder Woman, aired in 1977. She appears in her classic costume, made up of the red and gold bodice, tiara, and tall boots, a symbol of strength and courage. Berlin in 1945, showing the movement of civilians during the last months of the conflict in Europe. The urban setting shows signs of change and imminent rebuilding. People appear in transit, carrying belongings and walking along weathered streets. The American actress Cheryl Ladd in 1977. She appears elegant and smiling in a period of television success. In that period, Cheryl became known for her notable role in the series Charlie's Angels, which made her one of the most popular stars of the decade. The Canadian actress Catherine O'Hara in the 1970s. She appears young and smiling in an early phase of her artistic career. The hairstyle and clothing reflect the fashion and lightness typical of that period. Catherine already showed the charisma and talent that would later make her a recognized figure in comedy and film. A group of students in Havana, Cuba in the year 1937. Among them is a young Fidel Castro, identified as the boy with the lollipop in his hand. The boys pose smiling, dressed in school uniforms typical of the time. The young Ernest Hemingway in 1918. At the time, he was about 19 years old and was beginning to form the personality that would later make him one of the most recognized writers of the 20th century. Hemingway appears serious, with a determined expression and confident posture. Boris Johnson, future Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, at 22 years old in March 1986. At the time, he was a young university student already known for his distinctive style and charisma. The image portrays a relaxed moment, with Boris showing the look and energy typical of youth. Habitat 67, a modular housing complex presented at Expo 67, the Montreal World's Fair, in Quebec, Canada, in 1967. The project was created by the Israeli-Canadian architect Moshe Safdie as an innovative proposal for urban living. A scene at Dal Lake in the Kashmir region, published in British Vogue magazine in 1956. The record combines fashion and natural landscape, with a model elegantly dressed posing on a traditional local boat. A giant camera displayed at a trade fair in Germany in 1931. The enormous equipment was presented as a promotional piece to demonstrate the internal workings of photographic cameras. A French man trying Coca-Cola for the first time in Paris in the year 1950. He holds the glass with curiosity, observing the drink while tasting the flavor. In the background, other people can be seen in a typical post-war urban setting, marked by modernization and the arrival of international products. A flight attendant of Pan American World Airways preparing meals on board in the aircraft galley during the 1950s. The moment reflects the elegance and professionalism that marked the golden age of commercial aviation. The meals were carefully assembled to offer comfort and quality to passengers. A person refueling a car at a gas station in the mid-1970s. The moment portrays the daily life of travel and commuting in a time marked by economic and technological changes. People parked along the street to watch an airplane take off in New York City in 1951. Cars are lined up along the curb, while families and onlookers observe the moment in the sky. The scene reflects the popular fascination with aviation during the period of expanding commercial air travel. The Piccadilly Circus intersection in London, looking towards Shaftesbury Avenue, around 1949. The place, already famous for its lights and movement, appears full of vehicles, double-decker buses, and pedestrians. President Ronald Reagan playfully pretending to punch Muhammad Ali during a visit by the former boxing champion to the White House in 1983. The scene was recorded in a light and relaxed tone, symbolizing respect and admiration between the two. Reagan smiles while Ali reacts with humor, showing his characteristic charisma. A Volvo automobile parked in the old city of Stockholm during the 1960s. The car, with its characteristic design of the time, represents the elegance and reliability associated with the Swedish brand. The cobblestone streets and historic buildings in the background compose a typical setting of the old center of the capital. A gas station in Washington, District of Columbia, in the year 1920. The location shows manual gasoline pumps and a small shelter for serving drivers. Automobiles of the time, with rounded design and narrow tires, are parked near the station. A Coca-Cola delivery truck in the 1910s. The vehicle, with a wooden structure and narrow wheels, shows the brand's classic logo painted on the sides. Crates of bottles are organized in the bed, ready for distribution to local shops. In 1912, passengers were photographed exercising in the gym of the cruise ship Franconia, operated by the Cunard Line. The ship represented the luxury and modernity of early 20th century sea travel, offering comfort and onboard leisure activities, something innovative for that time. In 1941, the physicist Albert Einstein was photographed playing his favorite violin, an instrument that had accompanied him since his youth. Music was one of his greatest passions and a way to relax in the face of intense scientific work. In 1939, a photograph reveals the interior of Andy's Bar and Liquor Store, located in Homestead in Miami-Dade County, Florida. The place was a typical gathering spot of the time, bringing together residents to talk, relax, and listen to music after work. In 1930, a construction worker was photographed taking a break during work on the iconic Chrysler Building in New York. The building, a symbol of Art Deco style, represented the height of architecture and American ambition during the age of skyscrapers. Between 1890 and 1896, a man was photographed selling brooms and baskets on the streets of Japan, representing traditional trade in the Meiji era. During this period, the country went through rapid changes, modernizing under strong Western influence while keeping artisanal traditions alive. In 1970, it shows a group of well-known people gathered in a relaxed setting, talking and smiling. The mood is light and reflects the distinctive style of that period. Elegant clothing and hairstyles help show the characteristic fashion of the time. Renee Dangour, a Jewish woman born in Baghdad, being crowned Miss Baghdad at the first beauty contest held in Iraq in 1947. The event marked an important moment of cultural and social opening in the country. Renee appears smiling and elegant, wearing a crown that symbolizes the title she won. A man recording a concert in Poland during the 1980s. He holds a camera while the audience watches the musical performance. The moment reflects cultural enthusiasm and the growing popularization of video recording at that time. Afghanistan during the 1980s. The period was marked by intense political and social changes in the region. Local and foreign people took part in different movements and reconstruction activities. It shows the oldest known portrait of Donaj, made by James Robertson in 1855 in the Ottoman Empire. The image was recorded during a period of great advances in photography. The subject appears in traditional clothing that reflects the local culture of the time. A farmer listening to the radio while milking a cow in the 1920s. At that time, radio still required the use of headphones to hear broadcasts. The man works calmly, balancing the bucket while paying attention to the sound coming from the small device. In 1963, General Motors celebrated the production of Chevrolet automobile number 50 million, a gold Impala SS Coupe, which rolled off the assembly line at the Tarrytown plant in New York. The event symbolized the peak of the American automobile industry, marked by innovation, style, and economic prosperity. The British actress Helen Mirren, at 20 years old, dressed as Cleopatra for a stage play in 1965. She appears with costume and makeup inspired by the ancient Egyptian royalty, representing one of the most notable roles of classical theater. Mao Zedong and Chiang Kai-shek making a toast in celebration of the surrender of Japan in August 1945. The meeting marked a rare moment of cooperation between the two Chinese leaders after years of political tensions. Both appear smiling, holding glasses in a symbolic gesture of national unity. A girl in a hospital bed receiving a visit from small ducklings in 1956. The animals were brought to the room to cheer her up and bring moments of joy during treatment. The girl smiles while watching the ducklings walk across the sheet. President William Howard Taft playing golf during the 1910s. He was the first president of the United States known to practice the sport regularly. The images show him at different moments of the game, focused and enjoying the outdoor activity. A Canadian worker inspecting munitions intended for British use in 1942. He appears focused, carefully examining the shells inside an industrial facility. The scene reflects the essential role of Canada in supplying materials and equipment during the production effort of the period. It shows lacemakers working in Brittany, France in the year 1920. The women appear seated close to one another, focused on making delicate pieces of handmade lace. This photo shows the New Year celebration in Manhattan in 1907 in a restaurant that offered a full menu for $1.50. The setting is lively, with elegantly dressed people gathered to toast the arrival of the new year. The decorated tables and soft lighting reflect the charm of early 20th century festivities. A man pulling a woman seated in a rickshaw in the Chinatown neighborhood of Los Angeles during the 1940s. The scene portrays daily life and cultural charm in one of the city's most traditional areas. The man pulls the vehicle firmly while the passenger watches the movement of the streets. Several Vespa scooters traveling through the streets of Rome, Italy in 1955. The scooters, a symbol of Italian post-war design, became an icon of freedom and urban style. Young people and workers used them as a practical and elegant means of transportation along the city's avenues. The east pillar of the Kensico Reservoir, with its fountain and cascading basin, recorded in 1917. The structure is part of the water supply system that serves New York City, being a landmark of engineering and architecture of the time. Two women walking amid a snowstorm in 1922. They appear well bundled up, holding their coats and facing the wind and snow with determination. The ground is covered by a thick white layer, and visibility is reduced by the severe weather. Members of the American Tea Tasters Council gathered to taste different varieties of the beverage in 1947. The group's mission was to establish quality standards for tea imported into the United States. Mao Zedong, preparing to swim at his resort, located in Lushan in 1961. He appears at the water's edge in a moment of relaxation and rest during a stay in the mountains. Waitresses at a cafe serving French fries in Paris soon after the liberation of the city in the 1940s. They appear smiling, bringing plates to customers who gather at outdoor tables. The mood is one of celebration and relief, reflecting the return of normal life to Paris. The actress Susan Dey, around 1970. She appears young and smiling at the start of her artistic career. In that period, Susan stood out by playing Laurie Partridge in the popular television series The Partridge Family. The actor and comedian John Belushi in 1982, shortly before his death. He appears in a relaxed moment, surrounded by friends and acquaintances. The image reflects his charismatic personality and the success he achieved in film and television, especially with Saturday Night Live and the Blues Brothers. A woman using a payphone in the 1980s in City Island in the Bronx, New York. She is leaning against the booth, holding the receiver with an attentive expression, while the city wind moves her hair and clothing. The service counter of Trans World Airlines at Idlewild Airport in New York in the year 1958. The agents appear helping passengers with information and flight reservations in an organized and modern environment for the time. The winner of the Miss Sausage Queen contest of 1955, sponsored by the Zion Meat Company during National Hot Dog Week. The young woman appears smiling, holding a trophy and posing next to products and promotional banners. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.